"Don't!" I shouted. But the flash hit anyway. A photo. Of Emily flinching. Of me, stiff, stunned, 45 and cornered, posted online before I could even blink. The caption? "When your sugar baby brings grandpa out for dinner." My phone buzzed, hard and fast. Comments stacked like bricks, calling her a gold digger, calling me a joke. Then came the tag, my full name. Emily's hand slipped from mine. Around us, silverware clinked like laughter. But what really gutted me? Monday morning, HR asked for a quick chat. My coworkers, already whispering. My fiancée, asked for space. What they didn't know was, I had names. I had screenshots. And I had 2 weeks until the wedding. This wasn't over. My name is Mark Kincaid, and I'm 45 years old. Every morning at 6, I iron my shirt, check my calendar, and drive to work in my sensible sedan. The cedar cologne I've worn since law school lingers on my collar as I settle into our usual corner table at Romano's with my fiancée Emily Carver, 10 years my junior. Her smile still lights up rooms like summer dawn. Those strangers' sidelong glances at our age gap needle my confidence more than I admit. My brother-in-law, David Thompson, a shrewd attorney who taught me to document everything, keeps reminding me that evidence is better than anger. Tonight isn't just dinner. It's a quiet test of belonging. And I'm counting every detail like I used to inspect building sites. But let me start from the beginning. Romano's felt like home that Friday night. Warm lighting catching the stem of Emily's wine glass. Soft jazz flowing around conversations. And her smile melting away my week of spreadsheets and meetings. You know that feeling when everything's just right? When the world shrinks down to your table, and nothing else matters? Ordered the usual. Veal parmesan for me. Grilled salmon for M. We clinked glasses, toasting to what I called blessed ordinary peace. The weight I'd been carrying about our age gap started to lift as we planned weekend errands. Emily was telling me about a farmer's market she wanted to check out when the front door banged open. 3 college kids stumbled in, probably fresh from happy hour at that sports bar down the street. They were that particular kind of drunk where everything's hilarious and volume control doesn't exist. I tried focusing on Emily's story, but these guys kept circling our table like sharks that smelled blood in the water. Hey, check this out. The tallest one slurred, weaving closer. His designer polo was half untucked, and he couldn't seem to stand still. Why's this beauty sitting with this old man? My fork froze halfway to my mouth. From a nearby booth, someone snickered. Emily's cheeks flushed red as she stared down at her plate. "Gentlemen," I said, keeping my voice steady, the way I would handle a difficult client. "We're trying to enjoy our dinner. Please respect that." The second kid, sporting a backwards baseball cap, stumbled closer. His breath reeked of cheap beer as he leaned over our table. "Aw, come on, Pops. We're just curious. What's your secret? Sugar daddy much?" I felt my jaw tighten but kept my expression neutral. Getting into it with drunk kids wouldn't solve anything. Emily squeezed my hand under the table. Whether to comfort me or herself, I couldn't tell. The third one, who'd been quiet until now, pulled out his phone. "Yo, this is gold. Old dude's got game." He started positioning himself for a photo, swaying as he tried to frame the shot. "Don't," I said firmly. But the flash went off anyway, the artificial snap cutting through Coltrane's saxophone like a knife. Emily's hand trembled in mine. Around us, other diners pretended to be fascinated by their meals, though I caught several stealing glances. The maitre d' was nowhere in sight. "Just ignore them," I whispered to Emily. "Let's order dessert. The tiramisu here is still the best in town." But my stomach had knotted itself into a pretzel, and I knew neither of us would taste anything more tonight. That's when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I shouldn't have looked. God, I wish I hadn't looked. But you know how it is? That compulsion to check every notification, even when you know better? The likes were already rolling in. 10, 20, 50. Each little heart was another nail in the coffin of my dignity. I watched those numbers climb, knowing that somewhere in this city, 3 drunk kids were probably high-fiving over their viral moment while my private life turned into public entertainment. Emily wouldn't meet my eyes anymore. The dining room suddenly felt too bright, too exposed, like we were actors trapped on a stage we never auditioned for. The jazz that had been so soothing earlier now seemed to mock us with its easy rhythm, completely out of sync with the chaos in my chest. I pulled out my wallet, hands steady even though my insides were churning. The leather felt worn and familiar, like any other Friday night when I'd reach for it after tiramisu and coffee. But nothing about this evening was ordinary anymore. "Let me take care of this," I told Emily, forcing a smile that probably looked as fake as it felt. She just nodded, still staring at her half-eaten salmon like it held answers I couldn't give her. You ever notice how a restaurant can turn from cozy to suffocating in the space of a heartbeat? The clink of silverware that was romantic an hour ago now sounded like tiny accusations. Every laugh from nearby tables felt aimed at us. We threaded our way between tables, past the spot where those kids had stood. The maitre d' finally appeared, all apologies about the unfortunate incident. But where was he when it mattered? I just nodded and guided Emily toward the door. The night air hit us like a splash of cold water. Should have been refreshing, should have cleared our heads. Instead, my phone buzzed again in my pocket. I shouldn't have checked it. But you know that pull, right? That need to know how bad things really are? The likes were climbing faster than I could track. Hearts and laughing emojis piled up like autumn leaves. Every refresh brought new comments. OMG, I know this place. It's Giovanni's on 4th. That poor girl. What's she thinking? Yo, someone save her. I drove Emily home in silence so thick you could have cut it with a knife. Remember those comfortable, quiet moments couples share? This wasn't one of them. The streetlights swept across her face every few seconds, and each time I caught her staring out the window, distant in a way that scared me more than any drunk kid's taunts. It'll blow over, I said as we pulled up to her apartment. These things always do. People will find something else to talk about by tomorrow. Even as I said it, my phone kept buzzing in the cup holder. Each notification another crack in that fragile hope. Emily managed a weak smile. Yeah, maybe. She hesitated before adding, I just need some sleep. Everything looks better in the morning, right? But sleep wasn't in the cards for me that night. I lay in bed watching that damn post spread like a virus. Every refresh showed new shares, new tags, new people piling on, with their clever little comments. The original post came from an account called PartyBro98. Real creative, right? I bookmarked it, along with his 2 friends' accounts. Something told me I'd want those names later. When I dropped Emily off, she'd paused at her door, and for a moment, I saw the weight of what happened settling on her shoulders. I'm so sorry, I whispered, reaching for her hand. Those idiots ruined everything. She squeezed my fingers but didn't quite meet my eyes. It's not your fault, she said. But we both heard what she didn't say. That it kind of was. That our age gap had painted a target on our backs. That maybe we'd been fooling ourselves thinking the world would just let us be happy. The text came at 3:47 a.m. Greg from accounting, of all people. Hey, is this you? Attached was a screenshot of that cursed photo, now with thousands of likes and shares. The restaurant was tagged. The city location was tagged. My face was clear as day. Lying there in the dark, watching my phone light up again and again, I realized something that turned my stomach to ice. This wasn't just some drunk kid's prank anymore. That camera flash hadn't just captured a moment, it had started something. Something that was growing, spreading, mutating with every share and comment. I reached for my bedside lamp, knowing sleep wasn't coming tonight. That flash of light in Giovanni's hadn't just ruined our dinner. It had exposed every private fear I'd been carrying about our relationship to the harsh judgment of strangers, who thought they had the right to vote on our happiness. Monday morning hit like a hangover, even though I hadn't touched a drop all weekend. You know that feeling when you're walking into something bad? When your gut's already clenched before the first punch lands? The office fluorescence seemed extra harsh that morning, cutting through the usual Monday fog with surgical precision. I'd barely made it to my desk when I caught the first whisper. Thompson from marketing wasn't even trying to be subtle, leaning over to Chen while both their eyes tracked me like I was some kind of circus act. Remember when phones used to make noise? These days, silence tells you more. I watched 3 different devices slide into pockets as I passed the break room. The coffee maker hummed its usual tune, but the morning chatter had gone missing. Funny how quickly workplace dynamics can shift, isn't it? My own screen lit up with a notification. Someone had turned our photo into one of those looping memes. The restaurant's wall art was clearly visible behind us. That distinctive pattern I used to find so charming now feeling like evidence in a trial I never agreed to. They'd caught the exact moment when Emily's smile cracked, when my jaw went rigid. Whoever edited it knew what they were doing. They'd slowed down that fraction of a second where I looked oldest, most defensive. Hey, Mark. Rachel from HR appeared at my cubicle, coffee cup in hand. That practiced, neutral expression they teach them in management training. Got a minute? I kept my voice steady, professional. Of course. Inside, my stomach did backflips. No judgment here, she started. Always a bad sign. But given recent social media activity, we should probably discuss optics. The morning crawled by in a blur of sideways glances and message notifications. Each ping brought another variation of concerned commentary. Just checking in? Saw something online? No judgment, but 15 years I'd spent building credibility in this office. 15 years of showing up early, staying late, delivering results. Now all it took was one viral post to make people question everything. Every project approval suddenly needed additional review. Every client meeting got a second set of eyes, like somehow that photo had retroactively changed who I was. Around noon, I tried reaching out to Emily. Typed and retyped a message trying to sound confident. I know these blows feel huge right now, but trust me, they'll fade. People have short memories. Her response took 23 minutes. I counted every one. Mark, I think we need some space until this dies down. You ever have one of those moments where the floor just shifts? Where everything you thought was solid suddenly isn't? That's what those words did to me. 7 words that threatened to unravel everything we'd built. I stared at my calendar, at all those little reminders of our shared future. Dinner reservations, weekend plans, her sister's wedding next month where we were supposed to sit at the family table. All those carefully placed stones in our path now looking more like obstacles than stepping stones. The afternoon dragged on. I muted my phone, tried to focus on spreadsheets that suddenly seemed meaningless, but that notification icon kept pulsing, demanding attention like a slow bleeding wound. Finally, at 5:47 p.m., a new message preview lit up my screen. We need to talk tonight. My throat went dry. In all my years of business meetings and corporate negotiations, I'd never felt stakes quite like this. Because this wasn't about quarterly reports or market projections. This was about my life, my future, my chance at happiness with someone who saw past the numbers in my birth year. I sat there under those unforgiving office lights, watching coworkers file out while pretending not to stare. Each one probably had their own version of my story to share over dinner. Their own hot take on the old guy who dared to dream young. The empty office hummed with electricity and judgment. My cursor hovered over Emily's message. That little blinking line taunting me with possibilities I wasn't ready to face. I pulled into the coffee shop parking lot at 7. But Emily was already there, hands wrapped around a paper cup like it could shield her from what was coming. She looked up as I approached, and that slight hesitation before her smile told me everything. "Want to walk?" she asked. "It's quieter." We found a side street away from the main drag, where mature oaks blocked most of the streetlights. The kind of peaceful scene we used to seek out on purpose, not just to hide from prying eyes. Remember those evening strolls where the biggest worry was whether to get ice cream? Amazing how fast things can change. "Mark." She took a deep breath. "I love you. That hasn't changed. But this is a lot." My chest tightened, but I kept my steps steady. "I know. It's not just the restaurant. That post is everywhere now. My coworkers saw it, my gym friends. Even my mom called asking if everything was okay." She stopped walking, turned to face me. "I can't open any app without seeing us turned into some kind of joke." The streetlight caught the shine in her eyes. I wanted to pull her close, promise I could fix everything right now. But sometimes loving someone means letting them breathe. I think, she squeezed her cup tighter. I think I need some space, just until this dies down. A few weeks maybe, to let things settle. Each word felt like a small cut, but I nodded. Fighting her overwhelm would only make things worse. "I understand. Do you? Because I need you to really hear me, Mark. This isn't about us, about how I feel about you. It's about needing time to process without everyone watching and commenting and judging. I hear you." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Take whatever time you need. I'll be here." She touched my arm briefly, then turned back toward her car. I watched until her taillights disappeared around the corner, taking my certainty with them. The apartment felt emptier than usual when I got home. You know that hollow feeling when a space that should be warm just isn't? The blue glow from my phone painted shadows on the walls, each new notification like a tiny accusation. I opened the original post, fingers hovering over the reply box. The words came easy. All that hurt and anger pushing to get out, but I deleted them before hitting send. Angry replies just feed the flames. Give them more ammunition. Instead, I started bookmarking usernames. The original poster, the major sharers, the worst commenters. Each one a potential thread to pull later, when I had a plan. The family photo on my shelf caught my eye. Last Christmas at my sister's place. There's David in the back, arm around his wife, wearing that knowing smile of his. How many times had he talked me through rough spots with that calm lawyer's voice? "Lead with facts," he always said. Emotion makes noise, but evidence makes change. My phone felt heavy as I pulled up his contact. The call button glowed like a question mark. Was I ready to admit I needed help? That I couldn't handle this alone? The clock ticked past midnight. Each minute that passed was another minute of Emily alone with her doubts. Another minute for that post to spread. But David had also taught me another lesson. Rushed decisions make messy outcomes. 48 hours. I could give myself that much time to think clearly, to let the initial shock fade before making any big moves. The phone stayed in my hand. David's number still undialed. I sat in the dark, watching notifications paint blue patterns on my ceiling. Each one represented someone forming an opinion, making judgments about a relationship they knew nothing about. The easy path would be to hide, to wait it out like Emily suggested. But sometimes the right path isn't the easy one. The midnight quiet pressed in as I stared at that call button. Everything I'd built, my reputation, my relationship, my future, balanced on what I did next. Those kids thought they were just having fun at some random old guy's expense. They had no idea who they were dealing with. My thumb hovered over David's number as the minutes crept toward 1 a.m. I didn't sleep much that night. 5 a.m., I was already on my second cup of coffee, staring at my phone. You know that moment when you realize waiting only makes things worse? That's where I was. I hit David's number before I could talk myself out of it. 3 rings, then his familiar growl. Kind of early, Mark. I need your help. The words came out faster than I planned. Remember that advice you gave me about keeping receipts? A pause. Then sheets rustling. Give me 5 minutes to grab my laptop. While I waited, I pulled up every screenshot I'd saved since Friday night. Each one documented another crack in the life I'd built. Ever organize evidence of your own humiliation? It's like cataloging bruises. You don't want to look, but you have to know how bad it is. David's voice returned, clearer now. Walk me through it. Start with Friday. Exact times if you've got them. I laid it out like I was giving a project report. 8:17 p.m. 3 drunk college kids enter Giovanni's. 8:23. Verbal harassment starts. 8:29. Photo taken and posted. By 9:15. Over 1,000 shares. My voice stayed steady as I recited the timeline I'd memorized during those sleepless hours. Send me everything, David said. Original post, major reposts, account names, and Mark, I mean everything. Comments, timestamps, the whole digital trail. My screen lit up with a shared folder invite. For the next hour, I copied links, grabbed screenshots, noted times. You'd be amazed how much evidence people leave when they think they're just having fun at someone's expense. Hold on, David muttered, keys clicking in the background. These kids tagged themselves in the original post. And, yep, there they are on the university's public project page. Marketing majors, all 3 of them. He chuckled, but there wasn't any humor in it. Not very smart for future PR professionals. What's our play here? I asked, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. Clean and professional, David replied. No threats, no direct contact. We document everything. Build it like a case file. Think reporter's notebook, not revenge diary. Then he dropped the time bomb. Emily's sister's wedding is in 2 weeks, right? The whole family will be there. Cameras everywhere. My stomach clenched. I hadn't even thought about the wedding. 14 days, I confirmed. And Emily's the maid of honor. Then that's our deadline. You want to stand next to her at that wedding with your head high, not dodging whispers and phone cameras. He was right. Every family photo, every toast, every dance, they'd all be tainted if we didn't fix this first. I opened a new document and typed, record of harassment, timeline and evidence. I'm blocking off my evenings, I told him. No distractions until we have everything. Good. And Mark? Send Emily a message. Keep it simple, but let her know you're taking concrete steps. Women need to see action, not just promises. I drafted a quick text. I know you need space, and I respect that. Just wanted you to know I'm working with David on addressing the situation properly. Taking specific steps, doing it. Right. Perfect, David said when I read it to him. Professional but personal. Now let's start with these kids' social media history. If they've done this before, we'll find it. The morning light was streaming through my windows as we wrapped up. I had a plan now, a timeline, and most importantly, a way to fight back that didn't involve sinking to their level. One more thing, David added before hanging up. Start a separate folder for any financial impacts, lost business, canceled meetings, anything that shows real-world damage from their joke. I looked at my new digital war room, organized folders, backed up screenshots, archived links, the framework of justice, all lined up in pixels and timestamps. 2 weeks suddenly felt very short, but also long enough to do this right. Emily's response came as I was heading to work. Thank you for telling me. Please be careful. 3 dots. Appeared, disappeared, then, I trust you. Those 2 words felt like armor as I walked into the office. Trust isn't just given. It's earned, protected, and sometimes rebuilt stronger than before. Ever try to document your own takedown? It's like watching a car crash in slow motion, except you're collecting every detail of the wreck while still sitting in the driver's seat. I settled into my home office Tuesday evening, fresh coffee steaming beside my laptop. You know that feeling when you're about to dive into something unpleasant but necessary? Like cleaning out a flooded basement. You can't ignore it. But man, you wish you could. Start with screen recordings, David had texted earlier. Capture everything. Cursor movements, timestamps, URLs. Make it impossible to deny later. So there I sat, clicking through social media posts I'd rather forget, watching that damned restaurant. Photos spread like a virus. My screen recorder caught it all. The original post's timestamp, the flood of mocking comments, the reposts that turned my private moment into public entertainment. Here's something useful, David messaged. Free notarization service for digital files. Creates a hash, like a fingerprint for your evidence. Courts love this stuff. I followed his instructions, running each screen recording through the service. The system spit out long strings of characters that proved when each file was created. Funny how something so technical could feel like building a shield. Somewhere around midnight, I noticed comments naming Giovanni's in our city. Those needed special attention. They connected the online harassment to real-world impact. David had warned me some posts might vanish once consequences loomed, so I archived everything through web caches. Can't delete what's already preserved, right? I built the chronology like a police report. 8:23 p.m. Subject A approaches table, initiates verbal harassment. Each entry stark and factual. No emotion clouding the record. When I reached the current viral spread, I added a single line about work. Multiple colleagues confirmed viewing viral posts during business hours, impacting professional credibility. Simple, clear, documented harm. The hardest part? Keeping my hands off the keyboard when I saw new comments pop up. Every fiber in me wanted to respond, set the record straight. But David's words echoed. Clean record. No engagement. Let them own every word they wrote. Around 2 a.m. something caught my eye. 2 usernames kept appearing in the comment threads. On a hunch, I searched their profiles and found older posts, including a series of prank videos from the previous month. Same smug laughter, different targets. I created a new section labeled Prior Incidents and left it mostly blank. Just timestamps and links to those videos, in case they fit the pattern. Sometimes the best evidence is the kind that speaks for itself. Looking at my growing file, I renamed it from Harassment Documentation to University Code Review Candidate. A small change, but it helped frame the end goal. Every university has conduct standards. I was just helping them enforce their own rules. My eyes were burning by the time I finished. The laptop clock showed 3:47 a.m. I set an alarm for 6 QA, early enough to check for any overnight developments before work. As I closed the screen, a notification popped up. Someone had shared the original post another 1,000 times. I thought about Emily, probably lying awake too, wondering if she'd made the right choice giving me space to handle this. The weight of her trust felt heavier than my exhaustion. My phone buzzed. David again. Remember, we're building a case, not a complaint. Every file, every timestamp, every preserved comment is another brick in the wall they'll hit when this is done. I texted back. Evidence secured. No contact made. Following the plan. His response came quickly. Good man. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we organize everything for maximum impact. You ever notice how morning light has a way of making everything feel worse? I dragged myself out of bed Wednesday, my eyes gritty from too little sleep. My phone showed 6:15 a.m., and Emily's last message still sat there, unanswered. I just need time to process this. Please understand. I understood, all right. I understood that every hour of space between us was another crack in what we'd built. 2 weeks until her sister's wedding. 14 days to fix this mess before family photos turned into awkward gaps where I should have been standing. The coffee maker gurgled in my kitchen, that familiar morning sound that usually meant comfort. Today, it just reminded me of better mornings, when Emily would steal my mug and leave lipstick marks on the rim. I don't know if I can keep doing this, David, I admitted over the phone, slumping into my office chair. Every time I open these files, I'm reliving it. The laughing, the pointing, the whole restaurant watching. Stop right there, David cut in. His voice had that lawyer steel I'd heard him use in depositions. This isn't about just you anymore. Think about the next guy they target. Some regular person without a lawyer brother-in-law who knows how to document everything. I rubbed my temples, letting his words sink in. You're saying this is bigger than my bruised ego? Much bigger. These kids are serial harassers, but most victims just swallow their pride and try to forget. You've got the tools to stop them. He was right. I opened the evidence folder again, this time looking at those usernames with fresh eyes. The loudest kid, username PartyKing98, had quite the social media footprint. I clicked through his tagged posts, noting how often he appeared in videos with the same two friends from Friday night. That's when I found it. A playlist, labeled Public Pranks, pinned to his profile. 23 videos. Each thumbnail showing someone caught off guard, faces twisted in confusion or shame. The dates formed a pattern. Every other Friday for the past 3 months. David, I said, my voice steadier now. I think I found something. I started logging details in my document. Dates, locations from the captions, even specific phrases they used. Look at this old guy showed up 6 times. Why's she with him? Appeared in 4 different videos. The same script, different targets. My hands were shaking, but not from fear this time. This wasn't random anymore. This was documented behavior. I double-checked every file hash, confirmed every time zone stamp. No one could claim these videos were edited or uploaded at different times. Remember how I mentioned my quiet pride in being thorough? It paid off now. I created a spreadsheet, tracking every incident. Time, place, number of views, comments that could be considered harassment. The pattern emerged in clean, undeniable rows of data. I thought carefully about texting Emily. She'd asked for space, and I intended to honor that. But she deserved to know this wasn't just about us anymore. Found some important facts today, I wrote. Not pushing for a response. Just wanted you to know I'm handling this the right way. The message showed as read almost immediately, but no reply came. That was okay. I had work to do. I clicked the first thumbnail in the Public Pranks playlist. The video loaded, showing a busy coffee shop. My stomach tightened as I recognized the setup. 3 young guys with phones out, targeting another couple. The woman looked about Emily's age, her companion probably in his 50s. I leaned closer to my screen. The morning sun forgotten as I watched history repeat itself. These weren't pranks, they were rehearsals. You seeing this? I texted David, attaching the link. His response was immediate. Don't stop watching. Document everything. This is exactly what we needed. The videos played one after another, each worse than the last. You know that sick feeling when you realize something awful isn't just a one-time thing? That's what hit me as I watched these 3 kids target person after person. Check out this fossil trying to dance. One clip's caption read, showing an older gentleman at what looked like his daughter's wedding. The camera zoomed in on his face as he realized he was being recorded, his joy crumbling into embarrassment. Another showed a middle-aged server at a coffee shop, her hands shaking as she tried to clean up a spill they'd deliberately caused. Granny can't keep up with the lunch rush, they'd written, complete with crying laughing emojis. I clicked through to the next video and froze. There was our restaurant's distinctive burgundy booth lighting, filmed 3 weeks before our night. Different couple, same script. The woman couldn't have been more than 30, her companion probably my age. Why is this beauty with this old man? The same words they'd use on me later. David, I said, phone pressed to my ear. They've been doing this for months. Same restaurant, same setup. Keep going, he replied. What else? In another clip, I caught something I'd missed at first. One of them was wearing a university hoodie with the crest clearly visible. Not just any college kids. They were from Preston State. That detail mattered. Got it, David said when I mentioned the crest. Preston has one of the strictest conduct codes in the state. Pull up their student handbook. Section 4.8 covers harassment. I found the PDF, and there it was in black and white. Targeted harassment, unauthorized recording of individuals without consent, and actions resulting in defamation or emotional distress are grounds for immediate disciplinary action. They're not just violating one rule, David pointed out. They're documenting themselves breaking multiple policies and posting the evidence publicly. I started pulling still frames where their faces were clearest, usually in the selfie-style intros they'd film before each prank. Their usernames appeared right on screen. They were proud to take credit. Using David's archiving tools, I captured permanent versions of each video. Even if they deleted everything tomorrow, the evidence would stay intact. Each file went into the dossier with its own timestamp and digital signature. That's when I found it. The smoking gun. A clip from exactly 1 month ago. Why is this beauty with this old man? The same phrase. Word for word. Then another from 2 weeks before that. Same line again. Not just harassment anymore. This was their rehearsed routine. We need to draft the cover letter, David said. Keep it clean. Stick to facts. No emotional language. I opened a new document and started typing. To whom it may concern. The attached evidence documents multiple violations of Preston State University's Student Conduct Code. Specifically, all incidents are preserved with timestamps, locations, and clear identification of the involved parties. David helped me polish it until every word served a purpose. No anger, no accusations, just undeniable facts. I prepared 3 identical packets. One for Dean Harrison at Preston State, whose email I found on the faculty directory. Another for the parents. Their addresses were public record thanks to property tax listings. The third would go to the Metro Daily's tip line. They loved running stories about social media harassment. The emails sat in my drafts folder, scheduled for 9 a.m. delivery. Each attachment was a carefully organized folder of videos, screenshots, and that precise cover letter citing specific violations. My cursor hovered over Schedule Send. In those videos, I saw myself reflected in every target, the dampened joy, the stolen dignity. But I also saw something else, a chance to stop this cycle. You ready? David asked. I stared at the screen, finger poised above the mouse. Everything we'd gathered was true, documented, and undeniable. No threats, no revenge, just consequences they'd created for themselves. I woke up at 5 the next morning, 2 hours before my usual alarm. Couldn't help it, my mind was racing. The first thing I did was check my sent folder. There they were, 3 identical emails. Timestamp 9:00 a.m., all showing delivered status. You know that feeling when you're waiting for important news? How your phone suddenly feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds? Yeah, that was me, trying to focus on my morning routine while checking notifications every 30 seconds. By 9:15, the auto-replies started rolling in. First from Preston State. Your message has been received by the Office of Student Conduct. Then from Metro Daily. Thank you for your news tip. A reporter will review your submission. I took a sip of coffee, remembering countless mornings at this same kitchen counter, back when life was simpler. The familiar scent of dark roast and the quiet hum of my refrigerator helped steady my nerves. At 10:30 my phone buzzed. The university's conduct office wanted my contact information and availability for a discussion. I kept my response professional. Thank you for your prompt attention. I'm available at your convenience and can be reached at. I included a fresh link to the evidence folder, marked as read-only. No need for them to wonder if anything had been altered since the morning's email. Around noon, I sent the package to the parents. That one was trickier. Had to strike the right tone. I went with, as a parent, you should be aware of your son's documented activities at Preston State. The attached materials have also been provided to university administration. I welcome your adult oversight in this matter. Short, clear, and free of threats. David would have been proud. The local paper moved faster than I expected. By 2 o'clock, a reporter named Sarah Chen wanted to discuss the broader impact of social media harassment. I agreed to talk, but only on background at first. I'm not interested in public revenge, I told her. This is about accountability and preventing future incidents. She asked about the personal toll. I kept it factual. The post affected my professional reputation. Co-workers saw it. Clients saw it. My fiancée asked for space because of it. And you chose not to retaliate online? She pressed. Fighting harassment with harassment solves nothing, I said. I documented evidence and reported it through proper channels. My social media accounts stayed locked down tight. No tweets about karma, no Facebook updates hinting at victory. The last thing I needed was their friends launching a counterattack before the university could act. By end of day, I had an interview scheduled with the conduct board for 9 a.m. tomorrow. The email subject line that really caught my eye, though, came directly from Dean Harrison's office. Preliminary review initiated. I sat back in my chair, feeling the weight of the last few days. Through the window, I could see the sun setting behind the row of maples that lined my street. 2 weeks until Emily's sister's wedding. The rehearsal dinner was even sooner. Would the wheels of justice turn fast enough? Universities aren't exactly known for their swift action. But then again, they hate bad press even more than they hate paperwork. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Good work today. Clean execution. I typed back, thanks for keeping me focused. He replied with a single thumbs up emoji. That was David. Man of few words when the job was done right. I glanced at the family photo still sitting on my shelf, the one from last Christmas. Emily was laughing at something off camera, her head tilted against my shoulder. Soon we'd know if moments like that were still in our future. The conduct board's confirmation email sat open on my screen. Thank you for your cooperation in this matter. Please prepare to discuss the submitted evidence in detail. Tomorrow morning would be step 1. Not in destroying those kids. That was never the goal. But in showing them that actions have consequences. That you can't just walk through life treating people like props in your social media circus. I set my alarm for 7 and double-checked my documentation one last time. Everything was in order. Every file still exactly where it needed to be. At 9 sharp, I joined the video call with Dr. Martinez from Student Affairs and 2 other faces I didn't recognize. My screen showed the familiar grid of windows. Everyone in their own little box, like a game show where nobody wins prizes. Mr. Kincaid, Dr. Martinez began. We appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Could you confirm these events began at Salvatore's restaurant on Friday evening? I kept my tone steady, professional. Yes, that's correct. Around 7:45 p.m., I shared my screen and pulled up the timeline. I've included links to archived versions of all posts and comments, with timestamps preserved. You know that feeling when you've prepared for a test and finally get to show your work? That's how it felt walking them through the evidence. Every file, every screenshot, every clip had its place in the story. The second administrator, Professor Chen from the Ethics Board, leaned forward in her video window. And you can verify these are the same individuals throughout the documented incidents? Yes, ma'am. I played a clip showing the trio's faces clearly under the restaurant's distinctive lighting. Their usernames and faces match across multiple videos, including their self-titled Public Pranks series. They took notes while I talked, occasionally nodding. Dr. Martinez spoke again. We're issuing temporary no-contact directives to all parties involved. Our IT department will send preservation notices for the relevant social media content. Right after the call, my phone lit up with a message from Sarah Chen at the Tribune. She had follow-up questions, but promised discretion. We can keep you anonymous to avoid any additional harassment. I appreciated that. The last thing I needed was more attention. I'd prefer to focus on the pattern of behavior, I told her, not my personal situation. She asked about impact. On work, on relationships. I kept it simple. It affects more than just the moment. It ripples through your professional life, your personal life. That's why documentation matters. Around noon, an email arrived from James Parker Sr., father of the loudest kid, from that night. The subject line caught me off guard. Sincere apologies. Dear Mr. Kincaid, I am horrified by my son's thoughtless behavior. What steps can we take to make this right? I stared at those words for a full minute, remembering David's advice about keeping everything clean and official. My response was careful. Mr. Parker, I appreciate your message. As this matter is under university review, I believe it's best to work through their established process. Thank you for understanding. A quick check of social media showed changes already happening. The ringleader's account had gone private. Not that it mattered. Everything was already saved, hashed, and archived. You can't unring that bell. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder that sent a jolt through my stomach. Wedding rehearsal. 3 days. I'd promised Emily results before then. Real results, not just process and paperwork. I typed out a message to her, deleted it, typed again. Finally settled on things moving forward through proper channels, following up as promised. The clock on my wall ticked away. That old-fashioned one Emily always teased me about keeping. Said it made my office feel like a professor's study. Now its second hand just felt like a countdown. Each click asking if I'd moved fast enough, if the system would work quickly enough. David called to check in. University conduct boards can move fast when they need to, he said, especially with media interest. 3 days, I reminded him. Sometimes the threat of consequences is as effective as the consequences themselves, he replied. Keep watching those social accounts. I hung up and leaned back in my chair, listening to that damn clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Each sound asking the same question. Would the next 3 days bring enough change to keep my promise to Emily? Around 3 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed with a news alert from the Tribune. I nearly knocked over my coffee reaching for it. The headline made my heart skip. University reviewing student harassment videos. You ever have one of those moments where you need to read something 3 times just to make sure it's real? That was me, sitting there in my office, scanning every word. Sarah Chen had done a masterful job. The article laid out the pattern without naming names. 3 students filming themselves harassing couples in public, posting the videos for laughs, targeting people specifically to mock age differences. She'd even quoted some of their captions, those same cruel words that had echoed through Salvatore's that night. Multiple incidents documented over several months show a concerning pattern of targeted harassment, the article read. Victims include diners at local restaurants, couples in parks, and commuters on public transit. I scrolled to the comments section, bracing myself for more mockery. But something had shifted. The tide was turning. "These pranksters are just bullies with phones," one comment read. "Hope they get expelled. I saw one of their videos last week, disgusting behavior. Who raises kids to think this is okay? My parents have a 12-year age gap and have been happy for 30 years. These students need serious consequences." My email pinged. The conduct office again. Following up on this morning's review. Findings imminent. Please maintain confidentiality during this process. I gripped the edge of my desk, forcing myself to breathe slowly. The temptation to text Emily was almost overwhelming, but David's voice echoed in my head. Let the results speak for themselves. Instead, I opened Instagram, curious if anything had changed. The ringleader's account, IJ Parker 2023, had vanished completely. His buddy Tom's profile followed suit 20 minutes later. Only the third kid's account remained, but his public pranks playlist had disappeared, leaving behind nothing but sports reposts and class projects. Their classmates were talking now. Comments appeared under old group photos. "Can't believe you guys took it this far. Not cool what you did to those people. Way to tank senior year, idiots." The whispers had turned into shouts, and for once they weren't aimed at me. My phone lit up again, this time with an email that made my fingers tremble. Subject: Disciplinary outcome pending notice. From Office of Student Conduct. Time: 5:47 p.m. I stared at that subject line until my eyes burned. Everything we'd built, every piece of evidence, every careful step, it all led to whatever waited behind that unopened message. Remember when you were a kid, and you'd save the best part of your dessert for last? That's how I felt looking at that email. The anticipation itself was almost sweet enough. I set my phone face down on the desk. The notification light pulsed softly in the growing evening shadows, like a heartbeat counting the seconds until morning. That old clock on my wall kept ticking away, but its sound had changed. Earlier, it had felt like a countdown to failure. Now, each tick promised something different. Tick: justice. Talk: consequences. Tick: restoration. Talk: dignity. I stood up, stretched, and grabbed my jacket. The email would keep until morning. Sometimes you need to let the moment breathe. Let it ripen like good fruit on the vine. Besides, I had some thinking to do about exactly how to handle whatever news waited in that message. Walking to my car, I passed a young couple holding hands in the parking lot. They smiled at me. Just a simple, natural greeting between strangers. No phones came out. No laughs were shared at my expense. Just normal human courtesy. I drove home with the radio off, letting the quiet wash over me. The email sat unopened, carrying tomorrow's news in its digital envelope. Whatever it said would change things. I was sure of that much. At home, I put my phone on, the charger, screen still down. Through my window, I could see the first stars appearing in the darkening sky. Morning would come soon enough. Morning light was just creeping through my blinds when I finally opened that email from the conduct office. My coffee sat untouched, going cold while I read through the formal language line by line. Following a thorough review of submitted evidence and relevant testimony, the Office of Student Conduct has determined that multiple violations of university policy occurred. The words blurred together at first. My hands were shaking that badly. I had to take a deep breath and start over, forcing myself to focus on each carefully worded paragraph. 3 students found responsible for a sustained pattern of harassment, multiple violations of the recording policy, unauthorized distribution of content, defamation. The list went on. Then came the consequences. 2 immediate expulsions. 1 suspension through the next academic year. All 3 banned from campus events and facilities. Required counseling before any potential reinstatement would even be considered. You know that feeling when justice finally lands? It's like watching storm clouds break after days of heavy sky. I sat there, letting it sink in, remembering David's words about evidence speaking louder than anger. My phone buzzed with a news alert. The local paper had picked up the story again, this time with the university's official statement. They'd embedded screenshots from the public pranks playlist, the kids' own footage turned against them. The comments section filled with people sharing similar experiences, each one driving another nail into their reputational coffin. These actions have no place in our academic community, the dean's quote read. We take harassment seriously and will protect the dignity of all persons, whether they are members of our campus or the broader public. A new email arrived from one of the parents, the same one who'd apologized earlier. The tone was different now, heavy with consequences realized. We understand the university's decision. Our son will face additional corrective measures at home. We raised him better than this. That Saturday, I walked into Emily's sister's wedding with my head high. The same phones that had once been weapons were now just capturing joy. Friends hugging, families laughing, lovers dancing. Emily squeezed my hand as cameras swept across the room. You did it the right way, she whispered. Later, during a slow dance, I caught our reflection in one of the venue's mirrors. No tension in my shoulders anymore. No fear of judgment clouding my eyes. Just a man holding the woman he loved, swaying to the music. The photographer caught us in that moment, a candid shot that showed up in the wedding album a few weeks later. Emily had it printed and framed. Now it sits on our mantle, right next to the family photos. Sometimes I catch myself staring at it, seeing how the light catches Emily's smile. How relaxed we both look. It's become a kind of anchor, reminding me of what we weathered and where we landed. Last night, Emily and I were sitting on the couch, sharing a glass of wine and looking at that photo. She turned to me with that spark in her eyes that first drew me in. What made you handle it that way? She asked. Most people would have gotten angry, tried to fight back directly. I thought about David's guidance, about evidence and patience and letting truth do the heavy lifting. I thought about dignity earned versus dignity demanded. Then I raised my glass and told her the words that had guided me through it all. Respect is earned, never mocked. She clinked her glass against mine, and we sat there in comfortable silence, the photo on the mantel catching the last rays of sunset through our window.